The next topic is handling the exception. How we can handle the exception. How we are going to handle the exception. Okay. Handling the exception is nothing but converting the system error messages into user friendly messages. User friendly error messages. Okay. Handling the exception is nothing but converting these system error messages into user friendly error messages. This system error messages is generated by the JVM or JRE by taking the help of throwable class, right? And what we are doing is we are converting this system error messages. Why we need to convert? Because this end user doesn't understand the Java language or they doesn't understand the exceptions which you are throwing. Okay, so you need to, by end of the day, you need to throw these, you know, system error messages into the user friendly error messages. Okay, so let me come like this. Whenever an exception occurs in the Java application, JVM creates an object of its appropriate exception subclass and generate error messages. How it is generating? First, when you are entering the invalid input, it is connecting with the JVM. So JVM cannot process your input. Okay. So so what it will do is it will JVM internally connects with the JRE. JRE is internally connects with the your throwable class. Okay. The throwable will decide what type of exception it is. Okay. So and it will gives back the exception to the JRE. Okay. The JRE will take that exception and it will gives back to the console, to the Java program. So what we are doing, so whatever the exception we are getting, so that is called system error message or system generated exception. So that system error generated exception, we need to convert it to the user friendly error message. Okay, let's see. You can convert these system error messages into user friendly messages. So using the some of the features we have, so we will be use those features, we will be using those keywords actually, which is given by the sun microsystem. So we'll be using those keywords and we'll be converting that system error messages into user friendly error messages. So what are the keywords? Let's learn about the keywords. So Java keywords. Okay, keywords for handling system error messages. I'll write SEM, system error messages. System error messages are exceptions. How to handle the system generated exceptions. Okay. So we have the 5 keywords for handling the exceptions. One is the try block, catch, and third one is one more keyword, finally keyword, and fourth one is throws, fifth one is throw. So these are the 5 keywords we will be using to convert these system error messages into user friendly error messages. Okay, let's learn one by one. Okay, so first let's learn try block. So I used to call it as, some people will be calling try block, some people will be calling try keyword. Okay, so before dealing about the try keywords, let me give the syntax how the try is looking like. Try. Let me give the syntax first. Try. Okay, this is before Java 8. Okay, try. And here you will be you'll be writing the block of statements which you feel you'll be getting, which you'll be sensing that this particular statement will be getting will throw in future. It will throw, if you feel that if any particular statement will throw an exception, you will be writing it in try block. And we have catch. Let me write the syntax first, and then I'll explain. Type of exception and the object. Lost. I'll be writing final. Also, blender. Statements. So this is the, I can say that entirely, I can say this is syntax for handling the exceptions. This is the syntax for handling the exceptions. Not a try. This is syntax for handling the exceptions. So this is the syntax you will be using for handling the any exception. Okay. Try, catch, finally. Okay. So let's discuss one by one. Okay. See, try block. This is the block in which we write block of statements which are monitored by the JVM at runtime. Okay. So this try block will be monitored by the JVM, and we will be writing those statements which are occurring in maybe future. There may be a chance of, like, if you feel that you may have a chance of getting an exception. Okay, at that time you will be writing that particular statement inside this try block. Okay, for example, file not found exception, file equals to new file. I'll be giving the details, double slash documents slash image 1.jpeg. Okay, see, if the file is exist, there is no problem. Okay, if there is no file exist, so this particular statement may cause an exception, right? May throw an exception, right? What exception it will throw? Simple, it will say file not found exception. Hey programmer, which you're trying to access this file, right? But this file is not exist in this location. Okay, so this is an exception statement, right? Okay, so I can write this exception statement in a try block, right? Because this may cause an exception in future. Okay, fine, got it. Okay, if any exception occurs in this try block, if any exception is occurs in this try block, the control will be jumped to the appropriate cache block. The JVM will go to the appropriate cache block. JVM will go to the appropriate cache block. So internally, what is happening? Before getting an exception, what it will do first, when the user is entering the input, first it will the user the input will be validated. Okay, once it is validated by the JVM, so if it is fine, there is no exception in that. There is no, if the end user is providing the valid data, so it will go and check the file whether it is exist in that particular location or not. If it is exist, it will not do anything. It will execute this statement. Okay, if there is no particular file in that location, it will execute the appropriate cache block. Okay, so it will go to the JRE will go to the throwable, and it will uh, get the appropriate class, child class for throwing an exception. So we will be using that class in our cache block, and we will be catching our exception. Okay, fine. So try block is the one where we are writing the block of statements which are causing exceptions. Okay, So try block will whenever there is exception in try block, so appropriate cache block will be executed. Okay, appropriate cache block will be executed. Here we may have multiple cache blocks. Okay, so one cache block we are like handling the file not found exception. In another cache block we will be handling the arithmetic exception. In another cache block we will be handling the number format exception. So whatever the exception is occurring over here, it will execute the appropriate. For example, here we are getting file not found exception. This cache block will be executed. Okay, something like that. If we don't know about the cache block, we will be writing the exception. We will be using the super class as a uh, parameter over here. So we will see that. Okay, fine. So that's what I said. If any exception occurs in try block, it will yeah. And one more thing is that if any exception is occurs in a try block, it will find the appropriate cache block and it will execute. But the control will never come back to the try block again, because here the exception is occurred and the appropriate cache block is executed. That's fine. Okay, the JVM will terminate the program then and there itself, but it will not. Again, the JVM will not come to the number 26 number line number 26, and it will not read the value over here. Okay, so let's say I want to display something. So I'll say file path I want to display. File dot get file path. Okay, so I have two statements. The first statement is first it will be reading the file, and the second statement is it will be giving the file path where the file location will be residing. And the first statement itself, it is producing error means, so it will be definitely going to the cache block and it will be executing the related statement, but it will not come to this line number 26. It will not come to the line number 26, and it will not display the file path because exception is occurred. JVM will comes out of this particular try block and it will execute the cache block, right? But the JVM will never go back to the try block. Even we write the return statement also, it will not go back. Okay, fine. And for each and every try block, there should be at least one cache block you should write. If you write a try block, there should be at least one cache block. If you are not writing any one cache block, you'll get an exception. You'll get compile time error. Okay, so the compile time error will ask you to catch at least or ask you to write at least one cache block. Fine. And last, finally block. The last one is finally block. So the finally block will execute compulsory whether there is a exception in this try block, there is no exception in this try block, the finally block will execute. Okay, the finally blocks will be used to closing our resources. Mostly when you are opening the sessions, okay, when you are creating the sessions, when you are closing the sessions, you will not close the sessions, you will not close the connections to the database. First, if you see the JDBC, in order to connect with the database, we will be writing the connection statement. Then we will be connecting, then we will be creating a session. In that session, we will be performing the operations like create, delete, update, something like this. All these operations we will be doing it. Okay. So once you create the session, you will be closing the session in your finally block. Okay. All the sessions. I'll request everyone to close all your statements inside your finally block only. If you use scanner also, you'll always close that in finally block. Okay, fine. Yeah. And one more thing, when it comes to the non-exception scenario, let's say the try block, it doesn't produce any exceptions. At that time, cache block will not execute. Okay, because there is no point of getting a exception over here, right? If you get exception, then only the cache block will execute. Otherwise, the cache block will not execute. Okay, and after executing the try block, so you'll be definitely executing the finally block where there is no exception. Okay, if there is an exception, how many blocks will execute? this try block will execute, appropriate cache block will execute. If you are writing the finally block, definitely finally block will execute. In exception scenario, in exception scenario, three blocks will be executed: try, appropriate cache block, and finally block. So if there is no exception, no exception, no exception. So what? How many blocks will execute? Try, and if we are writing finally, it will be executing finally block. Got it? So this is a kind of interview question. So what are the blocks will execute if we are getting, like, if there is an exception in try block, how many blocks will execute? So what are, how many blocks will execute? Three blocks will execute: try, catch, and finally block. If there is no exception, try and finally blocks only execute. The next keyword we are going to discuss is throw. Okay. So throw is a keyword which is used to throw any user defined exception to the signature of the method. Okay. So throw keyword always exists within the method body. Okay. Throw always exists in the method body. Okay. Whenever the method body contains the throw keyword, then we used to write the throws at the method heading. Let me write one exception. Okay, we will be actually using this throw keyword to throws the exception. So what you'll, let's say there is a exception is occurring in your method. Let's say m1 is a method. Okay, there is an exception occurring in this method. So here you will be catching that exception in your catch block. Okay, try block is there, and there is a catch. Okay, so in that catch, you'll be throwing an exception, or you can directly say that there is a, instead of this, you'll directly say that you have performed something and you are returning an exception. Okay, I get this, and let's say let me write some exception statement here. Here block of statement, I'll be writing the same file equals to new file, and you'll be writing C:\/ documents image1, and yeah, and here catch, it's a file not found exception. Here you're writing fe, and you, if you want to throw this exception to the method body, so you'll write throw fe. So fe is an object of file not found exception. So if you want to cache this file not found exception, so I will be writing throws. I'll be writing throws. Throw will be throwing the exception. Throws will be catching that exception, and this throws will give this exception back to your client. Okay, so here what exception you are throwing? File not found exception. You have to write this over here. File not found exception. File not found exception. Okay, got it? Throw is the one which will be throwing an exception from your method body. In your body itself, you will be throwing an exception, right? Okay, from your body itself, you are throwing an exception. Throws will be declared, written at the method heading. So throws will be used to catch the exception which is thrown by the throw keyword. Got it? Confused? Yeah, that's all about the throw and throws. We both discussed it. Throw is a one which will be, throwing an exception to the method heading. Method throws will be catching that exception. So throws will be used to catch the exception which will be thrown by the throw keyword. Okay. Yeah, that's all about it. We'll see you in next video.